Sonia Thomas. Today, I am talking with Kyle Hollins, who is the founder and executive director of Lyrics Institution. We will be having a conversation with this urban professional today about the work that he does, the unique services that his program offers, and just hearing a little bit more from Kyle. So, Kyle, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Um, I want to start with a little bit about you and your background because your story is really interesting, and I think that it's really important for people to hear how you got into this role.
For sure. Again, thank you. This is a pleasure to be a part of the network, the things that you guys are doing. Lyrics Institution is a cognitive behavior based modification. This programming is designed to work with at-risk young adults from 13 to 25. So our target market is like tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. So a lot of people don't understand the tier system. So the tier system is designed for like educators or people that are working with these young adults to understand at a baseline level what they're working with and how at risk or adverse the lifestyle is of the young adult or the person that they're working with. So tier 2 is like high level poverty, kind of going through some struggles and stuff like that, but hasn't transitioned over into tier 3. Tier 3 is like criminality, but then tier 4 is violence and actually, moving the needle past just kind of doing basic criminality things like that, or even extreme criminality things. So that's our target market. How I got into that market or into this type of work is I'm a product of it. I've passed all three of those stages all the way into tier 4. But what that has offered me is a insight into criminality in a way that somebody that just went to school for it wouldn't be able to touch or understand. It would be more conceptualized, but for me, it's more applicable. So ended up doing 90 months in the federal penitentiary, where I was introduced to cognitive behavior modification. So I'm not only a student and a implementer of cognitive behavior modification, I'm a product of it. I've had to use tools to combat my criminal thinking error I have, and being able to consistently have to roll those thought processes over in my mind. I create solutions to those. So those solutions are what I give my participants. It's kind of like helping them fill in the gaps to really empower the struggles and the things that they've been through, because what doesn't kill us makes us, but then attaching that and helping them, kind of code switch or transition into a lifestyle that's more productive, more advantageous for them.
All right. And so when you decided to get into this line of work, what was your motivation to do that? You said that you used these skills, these tools for yourself. It's a lot different doing it for yourself versus trying to do it for other people. So what made you decide that you wanted to help in that way?
So, so the program is named after my daughter, my first daughter. When I went to prison, she was 3 years old. When I came home, she was 11. And at first, it was like I knew I wasn't coming home to get back in the dope game again. So I went to jail for conspiracy to distribute crack cocaine, felony possession of a firearm, furtherance of a drug trafficking crime. I got a count A and count B trafficking in the state. I went to the state before I went to the feds. All of this kind of started taking place in 2013. So as I was fighting that first case, I knew I wanted to do something else. I knew I wanted to be something else, but I just didn't know how. Right. So my probation officer, he asked me this question one time. He was like, because I got caught in the car with an assault rifle with an AK-47. And I'm sitting in front of him and he's like, Kyle, you're intelligent. So help me understand, like, you're not, these lines aren't connected. So he asked me a pivotal question that kind of changed my thought process. And what it was he was like, Kyle, what was the purpose of you having such a large gun? Because you could have any gun, but you got this large, high capacity gun. I'm like, well, I was going to this after hours. I wanted to feel safe. So he was like, so Kyle, let me make this make sense. So you went to a place that you knew you could possibly be killed at to have fun. I'm like, yeah, duh, that's Kansas City. Like, you got to protect yourself, right?
Yeah.
So he just sits there with this puzzled face, and then he asks me, he's like, oh, would you go into a bank knowingly being robbed? Like, why would you do that? I'm like, duh, that's stupid. Nobody does that. And then he just sat back with his arm crossed and he just looked at me, right? So at that point in time, I'm using every justification to kind of prove him wrong. Like, yo, you're a white man. You don't understand my struggle. You don't know where I've been. He was like, okay. Well, he like, all right. He's letting me, get all of that out. And then he asked me a question. He's like, oh, does your mom carry a gun? I'm like, nah, she don't carry a gun. She don't live the life that I live. And then he just sat there again, right? So I knew he had me, but I couldn't conceptualize how it worked in my real life, right? So he's like, Kyle, you know what? I want to send you to this program. I'll vouch for you. I don't think you should do this 10 years. I think you should really take this program because you're who this program is designed for. And so I ended up going and getting sentenced to the 10 years, but there's no drug remand in Missouri because they're realizing that most drug dealers are really drug users and they're selling the drug to get high. So there's no reason for them to get that amount of time. They really need help. They really need support. They really need thought process shifts and things like that. So they got this new cognitive design. Well, not new at the time where I was in, it was new to me. So I ended up they gave me an option to do 4 months in the program. If I successfully completed the program, I could go on probation and still, function in society. Well, 3 weeks to the door, what ended up happening was I had a case that they were investigating for 2 years. The feds were investigating the case. So right a week before I was getting ready to go home, they indicted me. Boom. So they transported me from there to the feds and ended up doing 90 months there. I was facing 35 years there, but God bless me, I was able to get it down to 7.5 years. Barack Obama was instituting so many new laws and rules and stuff like that in the legal system because they were understanding like the justice system was kind of messed up. And I actually got blessed, and they reduced the crack disparity. It was 100-1. They reduced it to I think 19-1 or something, like 16-1, 11-1, something. And it helped me. It did what it was supposed to do. So ended up getting 90 months, but continued in the cognitive behavioral programming. Like that's all I continued to do because I wanted it for myself. Like I needed to figure out how I was going to not carry a gun, how I was going to make this type of money that I wanted. I knew the lifestyle I wanted to live. I just couldn't connect the dots to get there. I couldn't figure it out. And ended up calling my daughter one day and she was crying, going through all the stuff. So I put her mama on the phone and I'm asking her what's going on with her. And she tells me she's been in a buddy room all day. It just so happened to be her birthday. And she was struggling with me not being there. So she had to remove herself from class to be in this room. My daughter's not a problem child at all, by far. But she had to be in this room all day because of a choice that I made. So at that point, I'm like, I need to save her. You know what I mean? Like I introduced the same cycles, the same struggles that I had been through to her. So I need to get this stuff in me so I can give it to her. Well, I finally get to Leavenworth, and what happened was I'm taking this cognitive program. It's more extensive. It went from 4 months. Now I'm in an 18-month program. Like you can't get out of it. You do this all day, 24/7 for 18 months. And as it started to shift my thought process, one day I was walking on the yard and this big John Coffey, bald head looking dude, you know what I'm saying? He's walking the track with this little skinny, frail, it looked like the number 10 standing next to each other. It was an awkward looking situation, right? So they're walking down the run, and I'm just kind of listening. And the big dude is like whining to the skinny dude, like why he can't kill his celly. You know what I'm saying? Like he can't get away with it. He's like, I've been to Smooth, I've been to these other things. Like, bro, I want to kill this. Like, I've never heard a man whine on top of anything, but he's whining about this. And then it hit me. It was like, yo, it's 1,100 people in here, right? And we're all products of this exact same philosophy, though. You know what I mean? Like, so then what it did, it just morphed my thought process into this isn't just for my lyrics. There's a bunch of lyrics out here. There's a bunch of men in this setting, men and women, that have been giving thought processes, been solidified by these thought processes that they can't even get out of it. They don't even know that there's another thought process that exists. And what ended up happening was I was looking around in the room and trying to figure out why I was the only one that high level wanted the information and like received the information. Well, my mom's a psychologist. My dad worked at Jackson County Jail, went to the military. So my mom was high level thought process and education. My dad was process and procedure. So I was kind of designed to be able to receive this type of information. That's not the normal construct of most people that struggle through criminality, struggle through violence and poverty. That's not the commonality. So what I realized was it's not culturally competent. Like it doesn't fit the demographic. First of all, it's being taught by people that look like the people that put us in here, taking our families away. You know what I mean? It's like and the examples that you're giving are so far fetched because they're not in our reality. You know what I mean? They don't match walking down the street seeing prostitutes. It doesn't match broken glass syndrome. It doesn't match living at a high rate of gunshots being outside, police sirens, helicopters. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't match that. So what I did was I took the program, shifted it more culturally responsive. I learned everything from the program. Like, I ended up being the head orderly there. So I had access to all the programming, all the procedures, how to create the workbooks, how they build, how they did everything. And it became college for me, right? So I had to test my theory out. So there's a program called Men of Influence. They was graduating a rate about 12 out of 35 participants. I taught it after going through it, because I was now like, I need to get as much information as possible, because I'm gonna go out here and teach it. So I need as much content as possible. Ended up teaching that class. They were graduating about 12, 13. I graduated 31 first time. So I knew that it was the cultural competency part. The principle is right, but the methodology is wrong. Like, we need a different concept. And once I got the statistics, the recidivism rate was at 46.6 or 7%. After 10 years of people going through this process and stuff like that, it rose the recidivism rate to 77.6. So the methodology works. But how to get it into the thought processes and to an age group that's really still more malleable for it, you know what I mean? That can receive it easier than somebody using these same solutions for 40 years and like, you can't tell me this don't work. You know what I mean? I literally been doing it for this long. So ended up coming home 2019, LLC'd in 2019. I non-for-profited in 2020. And then we launched Lyrics as far as like doing programming in 2021. And the rest is kind of in our annual reports.
Google me, in other words. Is that what you're
saying? Yeah, Google me.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about how we met. So I last year at the end of the year made a tough decision to move my son into a different school. And so we went on the tour. It was a scare tactic, quite honestly. I was like, we here to show you these real kids up in here, right? And so as we're on our tour, one of the first people that, we run into is you, and you're talking to a student. He's sitting on the floor, just against the wall, and you're like talking to him, and y'all are having a conversation about whatever it is, that was going on. And I immediately felt like, number one, this is amazing. They have a young Black guy in here who's dressed in regular clothes like everybody else, these long dreads, but he's well manicured, right? He's speaking to these kids on their level, and he clearly has a good relationship with them. I wanted to know who you were, and I asked, I said, who is that? Because you were a unicorn, in a school building, uh, Black male, all of those things. And it was just so interesting to me. And so I was having it that particular day, we were doing this tour, right? Having the issue with my son in the middle of it. And you just stopped, like, hold on, give me a minute. Let me finish up with him. I want to meet your son and so forth. And it was just the relationship that you were able to establish with him in that moment that made me feel like this is really something. Like, and then so my ideas start to flow about this is what we need. It's not just about the educational piece, which you will never get to if you can't break down what is happening with that child in that moment. And schools, don't have the resources, or they don't believe that it's essential to the learning process, or whatever the case was. I was just excited to see that. And it made me less worried about having to change his school in a different environment and so forth. So talk about, and I know that, you've kind of flourished and you're out on your own, you're no longer in that school, but what were some of the things that you were able to do with those young men to kind of get them, number one, to get their attention, right? And to help them see in a short amount of time that the decision you're making or not making right now is going to impact everything else. Like, how do you get that over to a young person in a short amount of time? You got to connect with them first. Like, how do you do that?
For sure. Northeast, being a part of KCPS, so we serve KCPS, we serve charter schools. I sit on the board of Genesis, Kansas City Genesis. We serve municipal, state, federal, and juvenile. Um, so this is where our influx comes in at. But if you kind of pay attention, they're high. All the majority of the places I serve are high risk, right? So to answer your question, how do I build the relationship? It's because I'm going in under the premise of I know what the big homie concept is. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants a big homie. Everybody wants the uncle, the guy that made it, that figured it out. Like what I know is they want structure, they want discipline, they want these things, but I need to trust you because I've given it away to somebody that I can't trust. Right. So I have to, and they hurt them. So they created a solution at their young age to be able to weed out people. Right. So I know coming from where they're coming from what those target points are to make me believe that you are what you say you are. One of those things is like, do you look like you made it? Like, I don't want to learn from a bum. You know what I'm saying? Even though you
Right,
can, I
right.
have to teach that. You know what I'm saying? But then I don't want to wear a suit every day. So show me that I can make some money and still, because I'm looking at YouTube and watching dudes with gold slugs and tattoos on their face, you know what I'm saying, making millions and millions of dollars. So don't tell me I don't want to sit here and listen to. Then another thing is you look like the people that took my mama out of my house. You know what I'm saying? You look like the person that took my daddy. Like you're connected. Like it's so many other variables before I even walk into the room that I've already chopped down just coming into the room. Then is I have to do these three things consistently over a long period of time. But when I first come in, I have to validate. I have to let you know that your reality is real. Whether it's right or wrong, you've made a solution to a problem, because what I know is you're probably doing stuff that an average kid should not be doing. Right? You're probably paying a bill, watching a kid, watching a parent go off and be irate. You know what I'm saying? Or you're watching your mom struggle through something and you want to save her, but you can't save her. So you want to, you know what I'm saying? Like you're going through all of this stuff. So you created this solution, and you're an intelligent human being. You're a God-given person, right? Like God gave you these attributes. So you're not slow or stupid. You're just doing it wrong. So I validate. I get where you're going. I play dumb. I gather data. You know what I mean? Like I want you to pour. And then from that point, I then shift their mindset to realize you're not the authority in the room. Like you're not the smartest person in this room. And I ask questions that lead up to that. Like, so if you're gonna pay a bill, so tell me how to turn my gas bill on, right? Like I ask them a question: are you ready to be an adult? Are you ready right now to walk out into this world and be an adult? And they'll be like, yeah, I could do it. I can figure it out. I'm like, all right, so tell me how to pay a gas. Like, tell me how. If you can't help me understand how to turn the basic stuff of being an adult, then you can't be the authority in the room right now, right? There's still things that you need to learn. And once that eureka moment comes up, like, oh, okay, I got to get something from this guy. Then from that point on, it's if you don't listen to me, then you're hurting yourself. You're not hurting me. And then that thought process starts to shift. And then I just have to reinforce that, continue to reinforce that. That's what I did with your son. And not just with him, but like you got to do that. And then it looks different because I got a tier 4. Like your son isn't a tier 4 or a tier 3. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not in the above. He teeters on 2. He's barely that though. You know what I'm saying? So my approach with a 2 is going to be completely different than with a 4. And I might have to be high level with a 4 where I don't have to be high level with a 2. You know what I mean? Because there's been instances where the kid might not like me for 2 months, but I'm going to be so consistent in digging in your chest and being there because I got tier 4s that have the ability. So a tier 3 will be like, man, I'll kill you. You know what I'm saying? On my dead homie.
Mm-hmm.
A normal teacher be like, oh my God, this is going out of control. But I can tell you really not like that. You know what I'm saying? Like the way that I'm handling you, if you can de-escalate and I'm in your chest and you de-escalate, you're not a tier 4. You know what I'm saying? My tier 4s are I'm in your chest and now he want to square up with me, or he like, man, I'm about to go get my gun. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm on my way back type time. So I gotta be way more assertive with them than I would have to ever be with another kid. You know what I mean? But here's the thing with my tier 4s, they might really want to see me about that though, right? But
Right.
here's the thing, like I'm gonna be so consistent with them that in 2 months they're gonna be like, all right, this is just how he is. And if I'm chill with him, he gonna be chill with me. And now I just built a relationship. And I've done that with high level, at risk, like shooters. Like that's what I get a streamline from Partners for Peace for shooters. I get streamlines from Uncornered for shooters, juvenile court shooters. You know what I mean? So yes, they will bounce out on you. Yes, I serve kids that come in here with back guns big enough that they can't hold them. They got to be in a backpack. You know what I'm saying? Like them type of kids. And you got to dig into them, but you got to trust that. You got to trust that kids want discipline and consistency, and they will take discipline if it's going to be consistent. They'll take it. They'll eat it. They might not. And a lot of times, a lot of parents and a lot of facilitators want to be, they so scared to lose a kid or lose their job that they won't do what they're supposed to do. But the thing is, that's not how the design of the kid works. Like, give me consistency and I'll be here. Give me consistency. Give me safety and I'll be here. And that's what a lot of times education systems, they struggle with that concept because they have so many insurance and so many lawyers and so many check boxes that they got to do that they can't really dig into the kid the way that, you know, they really need to dig into the kid. So that's what we do. We go in, and that's why we ended up getting our own space. So we don't have to interfere with the way that their philosophy is. Their philosophy, okay, that's fine. But this is Kansas City. So Kansas City is going to help solve Kansas City's problems. You know what I mean? So we're going to step outside. And what we have is, like, we have suspension interventions. We got mentor interventions. So the kids still come to us from there, but we have our own space to where we can provide the services that our kids need under the insurance, under the bond, under the safety mechanisms, and under our predetermined guidelines that keep us safe, keep the children safe, mentally and physically. And then so we can function legally in our premise and provide the services that really, even our data, I keep pointing to our evaluation reports, like our data proves that this process works. Kids are changing. Kids are going to college. Kids are working jobs that are not Walmart coming out of high school. They're getting $17 to $25 an hour with a career and a benefits package coming through Lyrics. Like, how if we work. So, you know what I mean? And that's not to toot our horn, but we work, you know what I mean? And right now, the climate in which Lyrics is at right now is we have to prove that we work because we're so starkly different from what the common is, right? Like, oh, that's some old school type way of whatever, but it works. It's working. You know what I mean? So.
So you talked about, coming out of the school environment and having your own space so that you can ensure that you are able to do the work that you need to do. So what happens with one of the programs that I'm familiar with is that you take those kids in small groups, right? And y'all talk through whatever it is that they wanna talk through. So then what happens at home is a result clearly of them working with you all. So how does the parent then fit into this new way of thinking and processing and all of these behavioral changes? How does the parent fit in or support or can support the work that you all do with the student?
I think it's really just, it's being engaged with the facilitator or being engaged with whoever's making contact with the young adult. One of the biggest things that I really love is when parents reach out and be like, hey, this happened, right? Like, I need you to address this, because what it gives me is, it gives me the opportunity to have a gym or a workout, a training center to work out of, because the behavior is really a overarching, like a bridge from the thought process of the cultural design where they grew up, right? So what's happening in our demographic is young adults are taking their home cultural design and then they're applying that home cultural design in the school setting, right? And we want that, but we also don't realize, like, our own traumas, our own fears, our own insecurities are also wrapped up in that. So it's not just going to school with your clothes ironed, it's you're going to school with the fear of abandonment. You're going to school with the fear of defeat. You're going to school with the fear of, because I don't really understand why my mom said this. I don't really understand why my dad said this. So what I'm doing is I'm filling in the gaps. And because they're filling in those gaps, they're creating solutions that don't really work in this setting. So every time you give me a problem or a thing, I have a direct thing to attack. And then I'll be able to transition that back to, oh, you felt this because of this. And so remember when your dad did this? This is why you feel like this when you're doing this, but this ain't the same. Let me show you how they're different. You know what I mean? So those type of that type of information helps. This is the heartbeat of Lyrics. I'm not taking your kid away from you. And I've seen a lot of therapists do that when they're working with their kids. They'll be like, your parents are different from you. They see the world differently from you. That's not Lyrics. I'm going to hand your kid back to you, right? I'm getting
You
them to
keep
be.
them. I'm good. I'm good when you say, I got it. I'm going to pack his bag and say, you know what, you're right. I'm gonna see you in December for Christmas break. That's when I'm gonna see you again. So, hey,
Right.
take them, take all of
No,
him.
no, no. I get what you're saying. No, I get what you're saying. But over time, I need him to go. I need him to. This is, and honestly, and it's so funny that we're even talking about this. Like, honestly, majority of the kids don't see their parents. That's really the biggest issue. They got a Superman cape because of Disney Channel, because of America's mainstream what parenting should look like, and they go to school and they think that the teachers do what they do should be what the parents do, and they just don't. They can't conceptualize like, no, 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 no. This is actually your life. This isn't Sarah's life. This isn't Jack's life. This is your life. So when your mom say you bring home A's and B's, like, just because Sarah can don't mean that you can. This is yours. So your mom said this. Let me explain to you why she said that and how this is going to help you. Right. So like that's my biggest thing, especially with parents, because parents be going crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I'm stressed out. Like, why? I love my son. I want to do these things. Like, help me understand. And a lot of times the mother could be doing, so the mother could create this, or the father can create this cultural design where the kid spends majority of the time, right? But then when they go to their dad's house, because they're not learning these two philosophies together, they're learning them separate. Now what they have to consciously do is they have to be able to, so how do I put this here? And then this goes here, and then this goes here. And they're creating that without at 15, 14, 12, 7, they're creating that with limited information, and it's driving them crazy. So them in their mind, they're out there, right? So then they come home to you accident, and they're so afraid to let you down that they're so focused on letting you down that they're not thinking about the actual thing that you're asking them to do. So then now it's a cycle. Now it's a cycle. Now you're mad that they're messed up, that you're messed up, and it's like this thing. So like we try to be that little bridge, you know what I'm saying, to do that though. So
Okay. So this has been amazing talking to you, and I want to give you an opportunity, if there are any things that, final words or anything that you want to share about what it is that you do, definitely take that time to share that information, and then how folks can reach out to you as well.
for sure. My biggest thing is it's okay to need some help, to need some support, right? I know phenomenal women, I know phenomenal men. They raise their kids extremely well. But there's just some things we can't do as parents because of the way that the parent and child dynamic is. You know what I mean? Like, we just need support. We need outside support. We need to wrap as many mentors, solid people, good people, people that labor in love around our kids. It doesn't, there's no, I'm too, like, we got to get out of our own egos. We got to get out of our own way. You know what I mean? And I see a lot of parents that, like, they just like, nah, like, I got it. And what it is for some parents, it's not even like ego, it's fear. It's really fear, right? It's fear of them being institutionalized, them being whitewashed, them being these things. And this, like, it's fear, you know what I mean? And it dates back to, the things in which we traveled, 500 years ago. You know what I mean? Like it's scary to put our babies in the hands of somebody else. You know what I'm saying? It's scary because we've been through this trauma. We've been let down. We've been hurt, right? And hold on, I'm sorry. We've been hurt. And it's sometimes it's hard, but what it does is we put our traumas and our fears on our kids, and they end up missing out on things because we're struggling. In inner city poverty, what I see a lot is I see a lot of moms grinding, right? Working 2 and 3 jobs. Well, if you're working 2 or 3 jobs, who's raising your kids at home? You know what I mean? Who's that extra support? Fathers the same way, and don't get it twisted. There's a lot of single fathers raising kids. I'm a single father. I got 3 kids. I got all 3 of mine at home. and I overwork, and sometimes I gotta make sure I'm sending them to mentors and sending them to people that can support and help them. It really is going to take a village. It's really going to take a village to really do this work. And we here, it's free. Like, don't pass up the opportunity to engage, because a lot of times, a lot of parents, if they don't put if their money isn't behind it, they don't invest their time behind it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, it's just another free thing. It's another thing. But the truth is, you could put your kid in a million sports, a million basketball games and track games and all that type of stuff. But I'm seeing parents pass up on aviation training for basketball. I'm seeing parents pass up coding for basketball because they're like, "Mo, my kid's just not into it." They're not designed to be into. They want to do easy. Humans want to do easy. You know what I'm saying? It's our job to press a child into something, into a box. And then once you put a kid into a box, like, they're not like fishes. They're not going to grow to the size of the tank. Like, they're going to have to bust out of that thing. And our kids, going through as much as what they go through, they're so resilient. They're so strong. And that savior's complex, it gives the kid like, oh, you've been through too much. But that's not the case. It should be, you've been through so much, bro. You got this. This is so much easier than doing that. And if you did that, you can do this, bro. So that's my biggest thing. And that's what we're going to do at Lyrics. We're going to press them. Like, if a kid comes in docile, silent, quiet, then we're going to pull them over into, come on, we need to talk. If they talk too much and you just can't stop running your mouth, I'm going to show you the importance of shutting your mouth and observing before you talk. You know what I mean? Like, they're on pendulums, and we just got to, encourage them and get them where they're going. So that's what we do here. You can always find us at lyricsinstitute.com. That's lyrics with a K, institute.com. We have an open house that's coming up October 19th. It's on Thursday. There's 3 sessions. There's a morning session, the evening, afternoon session, and the evening session. We're going to provide food, drinks. The evening session, we got wine for the people that just had a long day. We trying to help you help us. You know what I mean? So we got donors coming out, but we want parents to come out. We want people to come out, businesses to come out. What we do at Lyrics, we till the ground. But then our biggest need is that we need partners to come alongside us. So once we gain the trust of them, we want to be able to hand them off to people that are professionals in what they do. Because a lot of these kids don't understand the college route, or not going to be able to make the college route. So what we want is we want to be able to place them with people that they can learn in real time from, because that's another form of education. That's how I learned how to do what I'm doing, by doing the thing in which I was in. So lyricsinstitute.com, go to our events page, come check us out, come hang out with us, come to our space. This is our classroom. This is one of the places that we program out of. Like, come on, come hang out with us.
Thank you so much, Kyle. It's been great talking to you. I appreciate your time this morning, and I love talking to people who are doing what I love to say that is what I strive to do, which is to thine own self be true. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you soon.
For sure. Thank you.
Program is brought to you by the Kansas City Business Association.